And joining us now, an expert in fiscal policy and the Vice President of Policy Development for the Progressive Policy Institute, Ben Ritz. Ben, happy 4th to you, and thank you for joining the program. We'll dive right in with so much to cover really now. I asked our panel this just a couple hours ago, and I'm curious of your take. The Congressional Budget Office, or CBO as we've been hearing, estimates that the bill would add more than $3 trillion to the national debt. This is over the next 10 years. The White House disputing that analysis, saying it would decrease the deficit by more than $5 trillion when combined with other growth efforts. What are the biggest discrepancies when we talk about the math to come up with these numbers?
Sure. So there are actually a lot of big differences between these estimates. The biggest one is the assumption that tax cuts will add more to the economy than debt will reduce economic growth. The House budget resolution, they assumed $2.5 trillion of additional revenue just from higher economic growth. The Congressional Budget Office, as well as a lot of other independent forecasters, have said that when you take into account what the added effect of the debt is going to be on our economy, the net effect of this bill will actually be to shrink revenues to reduce the size of the economy rather than add growth and add additional revenue. So that's the biggest discrepancy. The other one is that a lot of the provisions are temporary, and so there's disagreements about, if you make them permanent, what are the additional expenses there?
Right. And, Medicaid has been such a huge talking point in all of this. This bill's set to make significant changes, including imposing work requirements and then reducing federal cost sharing with states as well. When we're talking specifically about the financials, what do you see as the greatest impact to our national budget there, and how are those numbers calculated?
Sure. So the biggest provisions affecting Medicaid, as you said, are the work requirements. And one of the questions is when it reduces spending, it's because people are coming off the program. And the question is, are they coming off the program because they're ineligible? Are they coming off the program because they are now working more and making too much to be on Medicaid? Or are they coming off the program because actually filling out the paperwork and doing the administrative burdens to adhere to the work requirements are just making it too onerous to stay on, and they're basically falling off for procedural reasons? It seems like, based on experiments we've seen at the state level, it's most likely to be the last group that's going to be the biggest. But then in addition to that, there have also been changes to reimbursement rates for states based on how they tax providers. A lot of experts have said this is a gimmick that that Congress is clamping down on here, and I happen to agree with that. But at the same time, that's net less spending for Medicaid, and that's going to put in jeopardy a lot of providers.
Well, that's a really interesting breakdown. It helps me understand and digest it all. On Cuomo last night, Chris welcomed two congressmen, one from both sides of the aisle, for their reaction to this bill now passing. This is Ro Khanna. He's a Democrat from California, and he broke down what he called the philosophical difference between the parties when we talk about finances. Here's the clip.
The bottom line is they made a decision. They believe that giving more money to the capital class is how to grow the economy. My belief is you invest in the health and in the food security of ordinary Americans, and that's how you grow the economy. It's a philosophical difference, an age-old philosophical difference of the genius of America.
I wanted to get your take, Ben, on those differences. And what do you believe is most effective when it comes to methods that not only grow the economy, but do it in a sustainable way?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is that we have policies that give people the right economic incentives, that we are paying for those policies, because the more debt that we're adding on, the more money we're spending on interest, and that spending on interest is going to prevent us from making good, robust public investments in our future. And I think we need to have a robust, healthy safety net, because not only does that take care of our least fortunate, it also encourages entrepreneurial risk-taking, and that has good benefits for growth. So I certainly agree with with Congressman Khanna on wanting to provide that security. And I think that I want to say there are some good pro growth provisions in this bill, but I think they're outweighed by a lot of tax giveaways that are going to not be very pro growth, and the added effect of that debt is going to reduce whatever benefit we could get from that.
Well, let me ask you about those tax benefits as well, if you don't mind, just to close out here.
Sure.
We hear a lot about those tax benefits being extended, the 2017 tax benefits, but also what are the additional benefits included, and who is a winner when we discuss the tax credits that we haven't seen yet?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the new tax credits, they vary. The biggest ones are going to be the ones that President Trump campaigned on, the no tax on tips and no tax on overtime, things like that. There's a bigger standard deduction for seniors. I think that's gonna be one of the bigger benefits. And then there's what's called a restoration of some previous tax breaks that there were for businesses that made investments. Those had expired, and this bill brings them back. And so I think those are going to be kind of the biggest immediate noticeable changes from the tax bill. Oh, and then of course there's the increase in the cap on state and local tax deductions.
Right.
That's going to be a big windfall for high income individuals, mostly in high tax blue states.
All right, Ben Ritz, great to get your take on all of this. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.